This video isn't here to pump you up. It's not warm and fuzzy. And it sure as hell isn't for guys still clinging to the idea that being nice earns you respect. This isn't self-help. It's a wake-up slap. It's for men who've grinned through the pain, who've heard "you deserve better" from the same lips that treated them like yesterday's trash for months. And yet, they stayed because they bought the lie that love means enduring. Let me hit you with a truth that stings worse than a ghosted text. As long as you're the predictable, always there nice guy, you're gonna be treated like an emotional doormat. You'll be tested, walked over, ignored, replaced, and you won't even know why. Why? Because the game's rigged. Society's taught her to chase the guy who's hard to pin down, the one who ghosts, the one who doesn't care. Meanwhile, it's taught you to be the lovesick fool, the hopeless romantic, the stepping stone she uses to climb until she finds the guy she really wants. And when she does, "See ya, sucker!" You're just a funny story she tells her friends over cocktails. So snap out of it. No matter how much you pour your heart out, how much you give, how much you sacrifice, it won't shield you. It'll do the opposite. It'll put you right where you don't belong, as her disposable emotional sidekick. The more you give, the more she knows she's got you wrapped around her finger. She can vanish, come back, step on you, repeat. And you, still there, waiting like a loyal puppy. That's why this video's gonna hand you the 7 most brutal lessons a man needs to learn to stop being her emotional punching bag. This isn't about turning into a jerk. It's about becoming a man, a real one. One who gets that if you don't toughen up, you'll stay the warm-up act for her main event. The humiliation doesn't come from her, it comes from you. From your pathetic clinging, your desperate attachment, your delusion that one day she'll see, she won't. The only way out is swallowing some truths that'll hurt worse than any unanswered text. You ready? Hope so, because the first lesson's about to shatter any romantic daydreams you've got left. But first, let's use the last shred of common sense you've got. This video didn't pop up because the universe is trying to save you. It's here because someone had the decency to like, comment, and subscribe. So now it's your turn to stop soaking up free reality checks and do the bare minimum. Hit like, subscribe. Drop a thanks in the comments, not for me, but for the algorithm, that cold machine that only serves content if you feed it. Because if you keep sitting there doing nothing, you'll stay stuck clutching the novel-length text she never even read. Enough chit-chat. Let's dive into the emotional gut punch. Lesson 1. Never beg for answers from someone who ghosted you. If she ghosted you, went cold, stopped replying like she got beamed up by aliens, it's because she chose to. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a glitch. It was deliberate. And when you go crawling back, all needy, texting, "I just want to understand what happened," you're not being mature. You're being emotionally whipped. You're basically screaming, "Go ahead and stomp on me. I'm still here trying to make sense of your calculated shade." And guess what she thinks when she sees your pathetic, pain-soaked message? Not, "Wow, I was too harsh." Nope. She thinks, "I've still got him on a leash." A guy begging for answers from someone who ghosted him is still emotionally on his knees. He's clinging to the fantasy that every cold shoulder comes with some deep, poetic reason. Spoiler, it doesn't. There's just a choice. She chose to vanish. She chose to go silent. She chose to treat you like a text thread she forgot to mute. And you, chasing her for clarity, you're just humiliating yourself. You're handing her ego a free boost on a silver platter. A woman who respects you talks. A woman who values you explains. A woman who feels something real doesn't vanish like a skippable YouTube ad. But when you hit her with that, "We were doing so good" text, she doesn't feel guilt. She feels power. Your pain becomes her ego's entertainment. Every attempt to understand just proves she's still got you in her grip. So burn this first lesson into your brain. Never ask for answers from someone who ghosted you. Don't question the disappearance. Don't try to decode the coldness. Just accept it and vanish. No tears. No novel-length texts. No grand exit posts like you're quitting a job on LinkedIn. Disappear with the kind of chill she'd never expect. Because the silence of a man who walks away in peace, it's worth more than 1,000 paragraphs groveling for a reply. You're not her emotional detective. You're not here to track down selfish motives. You're here to protect your sanity. If she crossed your line with her high-heeled indifference, you cross the door, head high, No looking back. No need to figure out where you got tossed aside. It's clear. The day she chose to ghost, you should have done the same, only faster. Lesson 2. Give too much and you'll always end up used. You know that guy who does everything right? Always there, always listening, always caring, always showing up? Yeah, he's the first one she ditches. Not because he's a bad guy, immature, or toxic. It's the opposite. He's too good, too nice, too useful, too predictable. A man who gives everything becomes what? Background noise. Nice, cozy, and invisible. Like the Wi-Fi at home, she only notices when it stops working. And by then, too late. Women crave excitement, uncertainty, that butterflies in the stomach vibe of not knowing if they've got you. They want tension. But the guy who's always there, all lovey-dovey, giving everything, playing free therapist with a side of Uber and cuddles, he turns into furniture. Comfy, but boring. And the saddest part? He thinks he's killing it. He thinks love's a marathon of sacrifice. That the more he gives, the more she'll appreciate it. Spoiler, she doesn't. Because she knows he'll always be there. Even after she ignores him. Even after she swaps him out. Even after she treats him like her backup plan. And that, my friend, kills any shred of admiration. People don't value what's handed to them on a platter. They value what they might lose. And the guy who gives too much? He never gives her the thrill of loss. He never dips out, never sets boundaries, never dishes out silence, never makes her feel his absence. So she treats him however she wants, uses him when it's convenient, and when she's done, tosses him like an outdated playlist. The cruelest part? When this guy finally wakes up, he's got nothing left. No love, no respect, no self-worth, just the emotional hangover of being a one-sided giver to someone who only took. So here's the brutal second lesson. Give too much, and you'll get used. Love needs balance, not one-sided martyrdom. If she's not giving you the bare minimum, you don't owe her your everything. Because if you keep pouring it all out, she'll take it all and leave you with nothing. And the kicker? She won't even say thanks. Lesson 3. Every woman tests the limits of a man she thinks she controls. You really think she went cold out of nowhere? That her ghosting was just bad timing? That her distance is just a phase? Stop being naive. She's testing you. The second she senses she's got you emotionally wrapped, the game begins. You're her new toy. She starts messing with your emotions like she's tweaking the volume knob. Up, down, mute, blast. Just to see how much you'll take before you snap, react, or break free. And you? You think she's just going through something. You think she needs more patience. So you give more, prove more, chase more. Meanwhile, she cranks up the test. Ignores you all day but sends a heart emoji at 2 a.m. Ghosts you with a been super busy excuse while posting stories laughing with people who don't even know your name. Every move is a test. It's not random. It's a damn experiment. You're the lab rat. And if you take it all quietly, swallowing every crumb like it's affection, congrats. You just got promoted to doormat with a name tag. Because she doesn't want a passive fanboy. She wants a man who says, not here, who draws a line, who's got backbone. She's testing if you'll put up with her half-assed effort disguised as stress, her ghosting dressed up as a busy schedule, her lukewarm replies blamed on life. Because if you eat it all up, she loses respect. Respect doesn't come from submission. It comes from standing your ground. From having the balls to set a boundary she can't cross. The sickest part? She might not even realize she's testing you, but she feels it. Feels you not reacting. Feels you swallowing her crap. Feels you forgiving her. Feels you still there, emotionally on a leash, waiting for a scrap of attention. And then she knows you're not a threat. You're a hostage. And hostages aren't desired. They're used until someone she can't control shows up. So tattoo this on your soul. If she thinks she's got you, she'll test you until you break. And when you stop reacting, she won't feel sorry. She'll feel bored. Because a man who takes everything stops being a man. He's just a side character in her ego's blockbuster. Lesson 4. Revenge through proving your worth only proves you're disposable. It's over. She ghosted. Ignored you. Treated you like a clearance rack item. And you, the genius emotional strategist, rush to post a forced selfie with some random chick, faking a life you're clearly not living, throwing up Google-copied "I'm thriving" quotes, thinking you're shaking her world. But guess what she sees? A desperate guy trying to prove he's still worth something. A heart screaming for attention, dressed up as, "I'm doing great, see?" Because if you need to show you've moved on, you haven't. If you're flexing how fine you are, you're a mess. If you're posting about thriving, you're stuck, staring back, begging for her spotlight. Real moving on doesn't post, doesn't talk, doesn't flex. It just vanishes. It shuts up. It commands silence as self-respect. But not you. You turn into a walking billboard of neediness with a filter and a caption, thinking she'll see it and think, "Damn, what did I lose?" Spoiler, she sees it and thinks, "I've still got him." Because that's what you're showing, that you're still orbiting her, still moving to her rhythm, still dancing to her tune. And the worst part? She doesn't even have to lift a finger. You're putting on the show for free. She just watches from the sidelines, comfy, knowing you're still hers, even if you're pretending you're not. You're not moving on. You're begging for attention in a new package. You're pleading for validation with a side of fake revenge. And no woman regrets losing a guy who still needs her eyes on him to feel like somebody. She doesn't feel guilt. She feels power. You think you're winning, but you're just replaying the doormat cycle with Instagram likes. Here's the cold, hard lesson. If you're still trying to prove your worth to someone who dissed you, you're still disposable. A man who truly values himself doesn't need to flex. He dips out. He goes silent. He vanishes from her life with the chill of someone who's learned his own worth. And that's what hits hard. Because nothing stings more for someone who thought they had you than realizing you don't need to prove anything anymore. You're free. And you didn't even send a memo. Lesson 5. The woman who dumped you can never find the same you again. If she ghosted you, went cold, toyed with your feelings, vanished without a word, treated you like an annoying notification, she can never come back and find the same guy. Ever. Because if she waltzes back in and sees the same puppy dog eyes, the same soft, "I missed you" voice, the same forgiving fool, you're done. Not as a boyfriend, as a man. Because in that moment, when she shows back up, she gets the ultimate confirmation. You were never a threat, just a safe harbor for when her ship springs a leak. Even after her ghosting, her cold replies, her calculated absence, you're still there, right where she left you, door wide open. And a woman who knows where to find you doesn't miss you. She's just testing, checking if she's still got the keys to your heart, if the leash still works. And if it does, she loses interest faster than you can say, "Welcome back." Because attraction doesn't live where there's certainty. Respect doesn't grow where there's predictability. And value doesn't exist where there's submission. But if she comes back and finds ice, if she meets a guy who responds with politeness but no warmth, if she gets silence, distance, a stone-cold presence, an empty stare, a version of you that doesn't give an inch, then her ego takes a hit. Because she was expecting the same emotional doormat. What she gets is a wall, a void with a name, a chill that doesn't argue, doesn't explain, doesn't accuse. It just shows with every move that the game's over. She thought she had lifetime access to your heart. Instead, she found a man locked down, emotionally untouchable. And that's the final blow, realizing the guy who used to give everything is now a mystery, detached, ice cold, unreachable. The lesson is brutal. If she comes back and finds the same old you deserve to get burned again. You're signing up for the same story with the same ending. But if she comes back and meets a man who's cold, centered, emotionally distant, you don't need to say a word. She'll get it. She lost. Her return was too late. What she tossed aside out of boredom is now gone for good. And nothing hurts more than knowing the control is gone. And the door shut without a sound. Lesson 6. Humiliation only kicks in when you stay where you were rejected. She didn't want you. She showed it without saying it. ghosted, ignored you, replied like it was a chore, treated you like a burden, not a choice. And still, you stayed, rooted, loyal, stubborn, a soldier fighting for a land where you're already persona non grata. Then you cry about being humiliated like it's all her fault, like you didn't dig your own grave by sticking around. Here's the gut punch truth. Humiliation doesn't start with rejection. It starts with your choice to stay, to linger, to keep chasing, because getting rejected is part of the deal. But staying there, begging for scraps after, that's emotional stupidity dressed up as patience. It's screaming, go ahead and walk all over me, I'm cool with it. And she does. Because she can. Because she knows you'll take it. Because you traded your self-respect for a maybe someday. You think you're being strong, patient, evolved. But she sees a guy with no standards, no boundaries, no self-worth. A dude who will take any crumb like it's a 5-course meal. And no woman respects that. None. She might toss out a test, a hey stranger text, a baited hook. But it's not because she wants you. It's because she wants to know if she still got you. And you prove she does. You're still there. Still down for anything. Still okay with being the backup, the third choice, the last resort. And that's why you lose. Lose respect. Lose value. Lose yourself. Because you chose to love her more than you love you. The lesson is clear as ice and hard as stone. Humiliation begins the second you refuse to walk away. When you choose to stay where you've been tossed out. When you keep building where she tore it down. When you ignore the signs, the dry texts, the ghosting, the coldness, and still stay. The only way out? The one nobody wants to hear. Get up. Leave. Cut contact. Vanish. Because nobody humiliates a man who's already gone. Nobody walks over someone who's walked away. Nobody controls a guy who's cut the leash. Learn this, or keep collecting rejections and calling it effort. Lesson 7. You only win the game by mastering absence. You can be smart, good-looking, caring, loyal, available. It doesn't mean jack if you don't know how to disappear. Because in the end, it's not the guy who's always there who wins. It's the one who's scarce. Not the one who talks the most who's got power. It's the one who shuts up first. Not the one who chases who wins her over. It's the one who ghosts with style. Because a woman only feels the weight of your presence when she's hit with the pain of your absence. And that'll never happen while you're still there, reacting, replying, explaining, trying, chasing, proving. You think it's love. She sees it as desperation. The game changes when you break the pattern. When you stop being the guy who always comes back, who always answers, who always waits. When you vanish, for real, off her grid, her feed, her emotional radar. You dip out like you're done being her ignored wallpaper. And it's not to play games. It's not to manipulate. It's to survive. To protect yourself. To break free from a dynamic where you were the only one showing up. And in that disappearance, you find your sharpest weapon, silence. It doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't justify. It just is. And when she notices, when she feels that the guy who was always there is now a permanent no-show, her ego cracks. Because every woman feels it, even if she doesn't say it, even if she acts like it's all good. She feels it. Her emotional radar's too sharp, and when it stops picking up your signal, it short circuits. No empowerment quote can fix it. No new fling can fill it. No distraction can mask it. You became the void that screams. The silence that hits harder than any fight. The absence that hurts more than any argument. Because she lost the one guy who gave everything, and now he's untouchable. Unrecognizable. A ghost she can't control anymore. This final lesson is the coldest, and that's why it's the strongest. Learn to vanish. Learn to go silent. Learn to disappear without leaving a playbook. Let her talk to her own ego alone. Because the man who masters absence becomes a legend, and nobody moves on from a legend. Because a legend doesn't come back. A legend echoes. And the echo of absence outshines 1,000 promises of presence. Climax, the man who no longer begs. There comes a moment when a man wakes up. It's not a tantrum, not revenge. It's a clarity so sharp it cuts deeper than any fight. A realization that dismantles the whole illusion in one swing. And then he stops begging, stops chasing, stops justifying his existence. He doesn't ask for love, attention, respect, or even answers anymore. He just watches and decides to walk away when he realizes he's a background character in his own story. Decides to go silent when he sees he's talking to an echo. Decides to step back when he's fighting alone in a minefield of disguised neglect. And when he stops begging, the game flips. Because a man who doesn't beg unnerves. He becomes a threat. Not because he yells, but because he doesn't need anyone's permission to walk away. He doesn't lash out, doesn't retaliate, doesn't make a scene. He just leaves. And that dismantles any woman used to having him on speed dial. Always there. Always reachable, always emotionally on his knees. Because she realizes she lost, not through drama, but through absence. And absence, from a man who was once a constant, is a gut punch to the ego that doesn't heal. She sees that the guy who used to do everything now does nothing, doesn't reply, doesn't react, doesn't care. And that's not coldness. It's growth. It's self-preservation. It's the instinct of a man who learned that chasing where there's no mutual effort is the slickest way to destroy himself. He became a mirror, and a mirror doesn't beg, doesn't grovel, doesn't bow. It just reflects, shows her what she lost, shows him what he's become. And the difference is night and day. The man who begs, who chases, who explains. He's a target, a doormat, the eternal backup plan. But the man who goes silent, who vanishes, who doesn't justify himself. He becomes an unbearable absence, a memory, a scar, the kind of man she'll never get over, because he left and didn't leave a way back. The final blow. You don't need revenge. You don't need forgiveness. You don't need answers. You just need to walk away in the most brutal way possible without saying a damn thing. Because when silence comes from a man who once gave his all, it screams. Not outward, inward. An emotional echo that explodes where it hurts most. In the control she thought she had. She'll keep laughing in her stories. She'll fake a strength she doesn't feel. She'll strut around with that ego dolled up in, I'm better off without you. But at night, in the silence she created, she'll remember the one guy who didn't beg, who didn't crawl back, who didn't send a novel-length text, who didn't bite at her hey stranger bait. She'll remember the man who just vanished. And the worst part, knowing that kind of man doesn't come back. Because a man who goes silent after giving everything, who becomes absence without fanfare, who erases his own presence without a trace, he's untouchable. He doesn't need a scene, doesn't need an audience, doesn't need to prove a thing. Because he learned the ultimate truth. Someone who disrespects you once will do it again if you let them back in. And when she realizes she's lost that access, that her comeback anytime pass expired without notice, that her games don't move you, don't touch you, don't faze you, that's when she loses, not just a boyfriend, but her control, her ego, her certainty. Because the worst kind of loss is the one that doesn't announce itself, that doesn't shout, that doesn't explain. It just leaves and never comes back. If any of these lessons hit you like a well-aimed emotional haymaker, drop this in the comments. I'm done begging, I'm out. This video isn't for guys trying to understand women. It's for men fed up with being emotionally tossed out like trash. Save this video. Send it to that friend still crawling after someone who never respected him. Rewatch it every time you think about going back. And remember, silence is your sharpest weapon. Absence is your signature. And the man who learns to walk away never has to explain himself again.